Hi, I'm John Cranton with JimFeist.tv. Going to take a look at the AFC West for 2013. Now, last year was Peyton's place as Denver dominated the division before that stunning playoff exit. Now, the AFC West looks very similar again with the Broncos in charge and three rebuilding teams trying to compete. Remember, back in 2011, you had three teams finishing 8-8 while the Chiefs were 7-9, so things have changed. Denver is the dominant team in this division. We'll start with the Broncos and 37-year-old Peyton Manning. Boy, did he upgrade this offense last year. He's off a season with 37 touchdown passes, only 11 interceptions, 4,659 yards, only 21 sacks, too. The offense finished 5th in passing with 283 yards per game, 16th in rushing the football. And they get even better this year with the addition of slot wide receiver Wes Welker, stolen from the Patriots. Now, this looks like an unstoppable offense with him, wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, 1,434 yards receiving, and Eric Decker, who had just over 1,000 yards. The running game is somewhat of an afterthought with all these passing weapons. But Manning said in the offseason he wants a faster, up-tempo offense. There were a lot of concerns about Denver's offensive line a year ago, but they did a terrific job in protecting Manning, who gets rid of the pigskin fast, and they opened up enough holes for the ground game to be respectable. Now, we thought the defense would be weak last season, but we're wrong, at least up until the playoff game when they gave out 38 to Baltimore. The Broncos were third against the run and the pass, although those numbers were skewed a bit because of a weak schedule. They only lost 4 games last year, but gave up 27 points in a loss at Atlanta, a 31-21 loss at New England, a 31-25 home loss to Houston, and then that playoff collapse to the Ravens. So the defense did have some problems against good quarterbacks. Now, they signed cornerback Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie to bolster the secondary. Pass rushing speedster Vaughn Miller had 18.5 sacks last year, though they lose Elvis Dumervil in his 11 sacks. Rookie defensive tackle Sylvester Williams was taken with the 28th overall pick from North Carolina. And the Broncos add veteran linebacker Sean Phillips from the rival Chargers and drafted promising Quantaris Smith from Western Kentucky. The kid had 12.5 sacks last year before hurting his knee. Everything really hinges on keeping Peyton Manning healthy, a guy with 4 neck surgeries. And remember who the backup quarterback is, Brock Osweiler, who threw just 4 passes last year. Now, the schedule for Denver is tougher this year. They got road games at the Giants, Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots, and Texans, and the Colts. Yes, Peyton Manning goes back to Indy. That's October 20th. Now, with the addition of Welker and the loss of Elvis Dumervil, might the Broncos be a team to look at over the total? With Manning saying he wants a faster up-tempo on offense? Sure, they should be. Denver's on a 7-2-1 run over the total, 11-5-1 over the total last season. We'll look at the Chargers in second place. Speaking of offenses, boy, what happened to San Diego in 2012 with high-octane Norv Turner and quarterback Phillip Rivers? The Chargers were just terrible on offense, 24th in passing the football, 27th in rushing. The truth is there is quite a lack of talent surrounding Rivers, as well as a sloppy, turnover-prone team last year. That's why the Chargers bring in 40-year-old Mike McCoy running the show. McCoy was a hot coaching commodity in the offseason. He was with Denver in their fired-up offense. However, that was with Peyton Manning running the show, a guy who will make every offensive coordinator look great. Just ask Josh McDaniels, who was a hot coaching commodity a few years ago as an assistant with New England until he left Tom Brady and was a bust in Denver. Now, McCoy was also the coordinator 2 years ago when the Broncos had Tim Tebow running a below-average offense, and he's also never been an NFL head coach before. Quarterback Phillip Rivers enjoyed a frustrating year, 26 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. The new coach inherits a porous offensive line as Rivers was sacked 49 times and committed 22 turnovers. That gives Rivers 47 turnovers the last 2 years. Now, San Diego adds offensive tackle King Dunlap from the Eagles and guards Richie Orenberger from the Cardinals and guard Chad Reinhardt to the offensive line. And the NFL draft helped by getting Alabama tackle DJ Fluker with the number 11 overall pick. Running backs Ryan Matthews and Jackie Battle, they averaged less than 3.9 yards per carry last year. Chargers re-sign running back Bronny Brown and add Danny Woodhead from the Patriots. But overall, there really isn't a lot on this offense for the new coach to work with. Chargers defense, yeah, they did struggle last year. 18th in passing yards allowed, 6th against the run. Lots of veterans were cut, though, as they rebuild, trying to add depth to the line. New defensive end Jarius Wynn is on this his third team in 3 seasons, so they took a shot in the draft with Notre Dame linebacker Manti Te'o. Last year, San Diego was 10-6 over the total, and they bring a 4-8 spread run into the new season. Chargers' schedule, boy, it's not pretty. They got to play 5 of their first 7 games on the road and 7 of their first 11 on the road. Third place, we'll look at the Kansas City Chiefs. KC was projected at 8 wins last year. Boy, were the odds makers wrong as they went 2-14. New coach Andy Reid takes over, bringing his controlled, safe West Coast passing offense aboard. Huge changes in personnel, though, for the Chiefs. The overpaid players seemed to run the asylum in Philadelphia before Reid got fired, but he appears back in charge with Kansas City for this season. Now, the offense of the Chiefs is very capable of running the football. They were 5th in rushing last year with a whopping 149.7 yards per game, led by running back Jamal Charles. This guy had over 1,500 yards rushing, 5.3 yards per carry. They also have Peyton Hillis. It's going to be a ball control offense as they bring in new quarterback Alex Smith. The last 2 years, a combined 30 touchdowns and only 10 picks. He excels in that short, safe passing game that he ran in San Francisco, and it's actually a pretty good fit for Andy Reid's West Coast attack. Now, the offensive line of the Chiefs as rookie tackle Eric Fisher, the #1 overall pick. Kansas City was ranked dead last in passing last year and adds wide receiver Donnie Avery from the Colts, where he had 781 yards alongside speedy wide receiver Dwayne Bowe. Now, the defense regressed. They were 12th at defending the pass, but only 27th against the run, getting run over for 135.7 yards per game. They still could use some run stuffers up front and some good linebackers, but the secondary is really loaded with Eric Berry at safety, anchoring a secondary with Brandon Flowers, and they add 10-year veteran cornerback Dunta Robinson from the Falcons and 6'3 cornerback Sean Smith. And this is important because KC uses the nickel defense under Andy Reid, and the plan is to blitz more, which is why they've really stockpiled secondary depth. Now, the schedule for Kansas City, very tough road schedule, at Denver, at Washington, at Philadelphia. Yes, Andy Reid returns to the city of brotherly love. That's a Thursday night game, September 19th. And they have tough home games against the Cowboys, Colts, Giants, Texans, Broncos, and Chargers. That's going to make a winning season unlikely. Kansas City, the last 2 years, 20-11-1 under the total with a conservative offense. They're also on a 6-1-1 run under the total. Finally, in last place, got to look at the Oakland Raiders. Boy, somehow this team 2 years ago had 8 wins, but they plummeted to 4-12 last year. And this team has cut a lot of talent the last 2 seasons. Last year, the passing offense was actually decent, 8th in the NFL, 28th in rushing the football. But there's major changes. Quarterback Carson Palmer, he was half decent with 22 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, but he's gone. And they acquired quarterback Matt Flynn via a trade with Seattle. Flynn couldn't beat out rookie quarterback Russell Wilson last August, and now he's handed the Oakland job. Career stats for him: he's 28 years old, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in his career, 13 sacks. Don't see much balance with this offense with fragile running back Darren McFadden. He had 707 yards last year, but only 3.3 yards per carry. With all the problems the running game has had, it's stunning the Raiders have allowed just 25 and 27 sacks the last 2 years. Now, wide receiver Brandon Myers led the team in yards, but just 10.2 yards per catch, and they released their 3rd leading wide receiver, Darius Haywood-Bay. The Oakland defense, terrible last year, 20th against the pass, 18th against the run, no pass rush, 27.7 points per game allowed last year. That ranked 28th in the NFL. They have free agent cornerback Mike Jenkins aboard, and they re-signed aging defensive end Andre Carter, both those guys to 1-year contracts. Now, they do have a new starter at free safety in Usa Young from the Browns, and they add cornerback Tracy Porter, but the defense also let go of defensive tackle Tommy Kelly, safety Mike Huff, and Rolando McClain all walk. So the revolving door really continues on both sides of the ball for the Raiders. It's the secondary that is a weak spot. It doesn't really force any turnovers with a defensive line that can't rush the passer, and they struggle mightily against the run. And don't forget, this organization gave up 2 early draft picks for quarterback Carson Palmer, and then they dumped him. Houston cornerback DJ Hayden was the number 12th overall pick for them, but he's a gamble not playing last season because of a heart condition. The Raiders committed 283 infractions 2 years ago, which led the NFL by a wide margin, and then last year they ranked 27th with 6.8 penalties per game. And the schedule for Oakland just brutal in mid-season. They got to play the Steelers, Eagles, Giants, Texans, at Dallas, at the Jets. That's a long road trip, including a stretch playing 4 of 5 games on the road. Now, the Raiders are a mess, one of the worst teams in the NFL for 2013. Make sure you check out JimFeist.tv for more NFL and college and pro football previews right here at JimFeist.tv.